Okay. So, welcome all. It's fabulous for you to join me. I know this is a busy time of year, and the fact that you are here to take the time to listen to me live is truly an honor. I appreciate that. And all of you have been in the chat telling me why you think creativity is important. And I did a quick Google search, and oh my goodness, there's so much linked to creativity like clarity, motivation, confidence, renews motivation, boosts productivity, innovation, and helps problem solve. There are so many things connected with creativity, and not just at the keys, but in our business and how we move through life. So, I'm just here to celebrate that creativity and walk alongside you just a little bit and perhaps give you some ideas. So, today is not really about why creativity is important. You wouldn't be here if you didn't realize that. And now I'm going to talk more about how you can become creative and how you can perhaps make more space to be creative and where to begin. So I'll briefly share my favorite tools to keep my business up and running, and then I'll discuss the mindset required for creativity. Sometimes I think we forget how important that is. And let's see, I just want to make sure I keep adding people in here. And what I want to also talk about is show ways to ease your way into the creative process. Sometimes it's not easy to get started. So I've got some tips for that. And I'll show you a few tips on Canva and Noteflight and how to interpret a chord chart and how to customize repertoire for your students. And you'll also see how to develop the skills that will boost your confidence at creating at the keys, but also perhaps your business and your mindset. So I'm hoping it's kind of a well-rounded session that you can grab a tip or two. And I also am excited to reveal two new projects that I've been madly working on for the end of this year. So I'm very excited to share those with you. So, three things that I want you to think about as we move forward in this meeting. First of all, if you do have questions, I'd love for you to write them in the chat, and I promise I will get to them. So, if you can put the capital QU in front of your questions, then I will know and realize and recognize what a question is. And then here is your next question, which perhaps no one has asked you this before, but I love this phrase. Where is your gum in the straw? And I will talk about what that means in just a minute, but start thinking about that. Where is your gum in the straw? And then the last question or thing that I want you to think about is keep this short question in mind. What if I? Okay, so if you've got a question, write it down in the chat. And then my two questions for you, where is your gum in the straw? And the other question is, what if I? Okay, and I'll show you what that means in just a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen here and tell you a little bit about me and then what's going on for today. So I'm hoping that you can see my slides here. I think I'm going to keep from making them a full presentation just so that I can let people in if I need to. All right, and then I see that the captions are down below. Are you all seeing captions as well? Shake your head yes if you can see captions. Yes, no, maybe. No, okay. I wonder if they come on the replay. It's just a new thing with Zoom, so I'm kind of interested in seeing how that all works. All right, so welcome to Making Space to Create. And I see a lot of good friends here. I'm so pleased that you are here. But just in case you are new to me and who I am, I thought I better just go through a list of things of what I do and who I am. First of all, I'm a wife. I'm a mom of three grown sons who are launched, yay, and I just happen to be a new Nana to Eleanor, who, man, that makes life really interesting and fun. And I'm also a piano teacher, longtime piano teacher, over 30 years, but I'm still 29. I'm a recovering read-only classical pianist with a master's in piano pedagogy and performance. So I jumped through all those hoops long, long ago. I'm an organist, an accompanist, and a band keyboardist at a church. I've been there for I think over 25 years. I'm a writer. I have hopefully a book coming out later in 2024. I love to blog as well. Arranger, composer, and I have made space to create. I found a way to do that. And I cannot wait, but someday I'm going to be a future Container Store employee. I don't know if anybody else likes Container Store, but I love it. I know. I would love to work there. So let's go there next, because I think when you think of the word making space, what that really means is that life is a little cluttered. And I actually love to take chaos and put organization to it. That I don't know why, but that is a happy place for me. And I enjoy helping people do that. So let's talk about what we can do. Well, first of all, we can have some shelves, but our shelves often get quite crowded. Even if we try and stack things up neatly, it just can still feel crowded. So then what do we need? We need more shelving. And yes, shelving is great, but then we have to figure out where we're going to put everything on our shelves. And I do feel that there is a priority in our shelving system, and that priority is our business. And all of you, I believe, are teachers or pianists, or you have some kind of job that keeps you busy and that helps you pay the bills. And so that shelf needs to be organized. And sometimes it can use a boost of some sort. And I like to use certain systems. So I'm going to share those systems with you in just a minute. But then our bottom shelf. Oh my goodness. And look at how neatly and organized that bottom shelf is. Look how fast we can access all of those things like, oh, everything is so precious, and oh, we must keep to an agenda, and oh my goodness, there's never enough time, and oh, perfectionism. Look at that big, huge box, and look at how easy it is to find, right? It's sealed up, but it's so easy to open. We fall into that should syndrome. Of course, there's fear on this bottom shelf, and there's that compare and despair, and then that certainty that, yes, it must be this way or it's just wrong, and then expectations. Man, are those easy to find on the bottom shelf? For some reason, our life can be so organized when it comes to our mindset and how easy we can default to those things. So yes, that bottom shelf can be a little dangerous. And then we go to the top shelf. And the top shelf is what I want to talk to you about today. And I want to help you access that top shelf. And I feel like those are all the ING words. It's your playlist, it's your playing list, it's the improvising, the journaling, the listening, the composing, the jamming with a band, the reading, the arranging. And sometimes it's hard to access those because we have so many other things going on all our other shelves. So now this is the question that I was posing to you. Where is your gum in the straw? That's a really kind of, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to be sipping a beverage of choice and then suck up a piece of gum. But that's what I want you to think about is, what is holding you back from doing what you really want to do? And a lot of times it has to do with our mindset. So I think we need to practice relabeling our bottom shelf so that these are easy to find instead. We need to trust the process. We need to be willing to be spontaneous. And we have to realize that when we start being creative, we are saving time because we are basically teaching ourselves maybe a new thing or teaching our students a new thing. And, while we're working on our creativity. And then, something really important. We have to change our perfectionism to good enough. And if you are thinking that I'm only talking to you, no, I talk to myself about this all the time. I am a recovering perfectionist, and I'm not proud of it. It seems like our society where we seem to be proud of people or impressed with people who are so perfect, but it doesn't do you any favors in the long run. Self-compassion and trust are so important. Trusting the process, trusting yourself that you can do something. And then imagination, that's a big tub. And we need to pull from that as much as possible. Listening. I think we forget to listen. Oh my goodness. We teach an art form and we play something that we hear all the time, but are we listening? And then being curious versus certain. So all important things on that bottom shelf that you really want to be able to find immediately on that bottom shelf. So I think it's good for us to be thinking of them in these nice little tubs that are labeled so neatly. So what does play or noodle time look like? I know someone was just talking about how they like to noodle. And I think this is what good enough looks like versus perfect. Now, what you'll see here are my two grandnieces. Camilla is the older one and Rosemary is the younger one. And I just absolutely loved this video because you're going to see them play some bells with a stick that they found on the playground. And you're going to notice that Rosemary is learning from Camilla. And you'll notice that Camilla is quite thrilled with what she's discovered.
Good job.
So notice no one was telling them, oh, no, you have to hit that bell a certain way. Or, Rosemary, why are you hitting that one? No one was correcting them. They were just having fun doing something new on a playground and exploring new sounds. And I think we forget what noodle should look like and what play should look like. It should be a moment of discovery where there's no judgment. One of my good friends and choir director, Dr. Stuart Dameron, says this: we work in an art form that constantly demands perfection while simultaneously denying its existence. And I think that's the battle we all fight all the time. I'm going to change this to present now, which I think most people are here. So think about that. We are always battling things because we think that we need to be perfect. And I tell you what, I have something that I want to show you that I just ran into this morning that was quite a surprise. And it's one of those moments where I have to default to being good enough instead of perfect because there was so much joy in it. And I'll show that to you in just a minute. I also believe that music is a coping mechanism, and I don't even believe that. I know that. Our family endured a horrible trauma, and I think many of you have also experienced horrible times. And I think we forget that what we do at the piano or at our instrument is probably one of the best coping mechanisms that we have. So don't forget that just treating yourself to a little noodle time like those two little girls and, oh, look what happens when what if I, can really change your mindset. All right, and moving on, let's talk about your priority shelf. Now, there are a lot of systems out there. And so I am not telling you that these are the best. I am telling you and sharing with you what I have found to be really helpful in getting my business up and running. And one of them is Practice Space. Now, many of you have heard about Tonara, and a lot of us piano teachers or music teachers got hooked on Tonara during the pandemic. And then Tonara announced it was closing its doors. And so we all panicked. What are we going to do next? And I had to think long and hard, do I need to replace that? And yes, I do, because it was an important system that helps me stay organized with my lessons. It says Practice Space there, and yes, I use it to help my students practice, but I use it mostly for me to stay organized. And so that whatever system you choose to use to deliver assignments or to help you stay organized, I think it's important for you to think about how it's helping you first. And it also does help some of my students practice more. I'm not going to say it's working for all of my students, but if my students don't access Practice Space, they are already good practicers. So I don't think it's a tool that promises strong practice. I do believe that we are teaching piano lessons and we are also teaching practice lessons. It's not just automatic that students will start to practice. So that is one source that I use. And I know there's a lot of other good options out there too. So I'm not getting paid to promote Practice Space, but I do find that I need a system to help me deliver and organize my assignments. My music staff is one that I have used for years and years, and that helps me deliver invoices to families. They can pay online. I know that can be expensive, but listen, I want to make it convenient for my families because I want them coming back for more. And if they can get extra miles on their credit card for paying for piano lessons, I'd rather do that than make it more inconvenient for them. I want them to pay and pay on time, and my music staff helps me do that. I also send out newsletters, and I'm going to give you one little snippet of advice that I learned from someone else, and it's been golden for me. And then I also use Canva. Canva a lot. So I'm going to show you how I dive into Canva just a little bit later. So here is one of my tips that I learned quite a while ago from a friend, and man, it's helped me in so many ways. Biff. So if you've got someone that is asking you questions, or if you need to send out a newsletter to families or whatever, I biff. I keep it brief, I keep it informative, friendly, and firm. And I think it's easy to, start writing bloated paragraphs of everything that's important that somebody needs to know. And so I use bullet points if I need to, but I know we're all busy. And so just that biffing, that art of biffing can really help you save time as well. So I wanted to pass that little golden nugget along with you because I think you will find it helpful, especially if you run into a confrontation. It's easy to go on and on about things or just get to the point. And I think people appreciate someone who can edit themselves and keep things relatively short. All right, and then let's talk about that top shelf. Oh my goodness. That's the one that we would love to be in full time, right? And some artists and musicians are there full time, but it's not that they got there right away and it wasn't always easy. There's always a journey to get there. And it is hard to reach at times. And so I want to talk about some ways that you can get yourself to that top shelf just a little bit faster. And I feel like it starts from the bottom and it works itself on the way up the step ladder. First of all, you have to have that good enough mindset. It cannot be a mindset of perfect. Then, and I am talking about my own experience here, this is really kind of my story in some ways, chord fluency. When I started understanding chords and chord symbols and how they work nicely together, that led into more confidence in improvisation. And because I play at a church so regularly, I am playing other people's arrangements all the time. And when I see and get under the hood of what other people are doing when they arrange a tune, that has helped me with my arranging skills and also in my own composing and write original work. And then I believe that helps turn someone into not just a musician, but a comprehensive musician. And I have a feeling that all of you are here because you realize that that is important to you as a player, but also to your students. Most of our students will not be playing at Carnegie Hall. Most of our students will be asked to play perhaps in a band or accompany a group or play at church. And we want to equip them with those skills the best way possible. So here is one other thing. Remember when I talked about the gum in the straw? Melanie Meehan, she is a education specialist. She used that phrase, and then she said that backward chaining is a way to help people who are stuck in a process. And this is very helpful for those who have maybe learning issues or occupational therapy or going through occupational therapy. Someone will help someone do something by beginning with the last step or at least closer to the end. And so that's what I want you to think about. A lot of the things that I'm going to show you today are getting you further along in the process instead of starting way at the bottom. And that is called backward chaining. I love that name for that. So here are my backward chaining assistants. We're going to talk about a chord chart. We're going to talk about Canva and Noteflight, and then two new things that I have to offer: jump starts and space to create. And two things I want you to keep in mind as we keep moving forward is where's the gum in the straw and what if I, as we move forward. So where are you stuck? Where are you in the process of getting creative stuck? And then challenge yourself with what if I. So let me move to, let's see if I can get out of this now. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to move. Welcome to those who have just joined me. In case you have missed it, I just went through some slides and I've been asking people to think about two things. Where is the gum in the straw for you? Where do you get stuck in your creative process? And then also, where, what if I? Think about that question, what if I? And here is a prime example of what if I. I'm assuming you can all see this. This is a video that dear Natalie sent me in practice space just this morning. And at her lesson last week, because I was talking about this, I said, Natalie, let's play the what if I game. And she is working out of a method book right now, and she is learning lightly row. And so she sent this to me, and I'm not going to show you the whole thing because all of a sudden little sister Madison, who is also studying with me, comes in with not so many clothes on. So I won't show you everything, but here's an example of that good enough versus perfect. And I'll talk a little bit more about it after I show you this video. So nod your head if you can hear this. I'm just crossing my fingers that this all works.
Hi, Miss Leila. I'm going to play you lightly row, like the what if I game. I think I made up a really good one. So I was like, what if I add a chord to each note? So each note has a chord, a third. Okay, except for the left hand. Okay.
Okay, so you can tell she is just one little cute little girl and has so much fun. And she opened this video with, I love piano. And I'm looking at her hand position like, oh my gosh, we have worked so hard. And she's playing with French fry fingers. I mean, like all of these things were going through my head. I'm like, Leela, Leela, Leela. Remember, focus on good enough. And look what she did. She came up with adding thirds to a melody. I didn't ask her to do that. I didn't give her that idea. And I think that is the mindset that we forget about is, let our students try new things. And so I didn't, if you'll notice, I wrote a little comment to her. I didn't talk about the fingers. That's not important to her right now. What's important to me is that she came up with something like that, and she knew she had permission to go beyond the page. And so if there's anything to take away, I hope you understand that, yes, I am working with her in her hand position, but that is not the focus of this. The focus was, whoa, she was being creative. She was using that what if I, and she sent me a video to show me. So, it's one of those things where we just always have to do a little reality check and that bottom shelf check, it's good enough. So here I am in Canva. And this is my home away from home. I just adore this place. I could just get stuck in here all day. And so I just want to show you, one of the freebies that I'm going to give you is a practice performing checklist. And I want to just show you how I came about creating it. And so I am in Canva here. I'll go back to my home. And if you are new to Canva, I'll just step you through. Some of you may not be, so I won't spend too much time. But Canva is one of those great backward chaining platforms because it gets you started. It's full of templates. So I wanted to make a checklist for my students. And now I should have added the word Christmas because when I type in a Christmas checklist and then I just click on templates, they are going to give me a whole bunch of Christmas type checklists. Look, it's halfway done for me. And it would be halfway done for you if you had a checklist. Maybe you want your students to do something over the holidays. You could make this checklist for them very, very quickly because you can edit any one of them. So you can see all the options right here. And let's see if I can find, there was one that I really thought was cute. So I'm going to, if you can't find exactly what you want, you know how you Google things. So let me do a winter checklist. And I thought, let me see if I can find, oh yes, I liked this one. Look at how cute this one is with a little Santa hat. So now I do have a premium account, so that means I can access pretty much everything. If you have a free account, there may be things that you can't access. So just something to keep in mind. But I just want to show you how quickly you can change things around. Okay, those little hats are cute. Maybe I don't want that font, or maybe I just need one line. So I'll just get rid of some of these things. I don't need all of that. And then I can spread this line out, and it helps me make things. Is it going to help me make things? Oh, no, it's going to do weird things for me, of course, right when everybody's here. It's probably because I'm online somewhat too. Um, but I can get rid of anything that I don't want. And what if I don't want that font? Maybe I want a different font. Well, there's all kinds of fonts. That's the problem. There's just too many choices. And then you can type that in, and maybe you want to perform for others. You could just make a checklist for students for the winter holiday break. And so I see how fast I can delete things and then also add things. And if things aren't behaving, then you just get rid of them because you don't like them. And then you add new things like that, and you can stretch them out. Let's see if that one, see, it's always going to connect to the little things over there. So notice I have issues too sometimes, okay? Sometimes lines aren't your best friends, but you can always just get rid of them. And let me show you what I used for to make the performing checklist for you. But one more thing before I leave, see how the background is a different color? You can always change color, and they even suggest colors from the actual pictures on the document right there. So whatever you want to do in Canva, they have already started the process for you. You don't have to start at the very, very beginning. All right, so now I want to show you what's coming your way. I decided to create this practice performing checklist. And I had this upstairs I have a piano upstairs named Bella, and it's a grand piano, and it's where they can kind of practice performing on a new piano, because most of the time they're down here on these pianos. And so I wanted them to read through this list before they played. And I added a couple of things. I've done these lists before, but I wanted them to take a breath in, and then take a breath out, and then prepare their hands. And so this is coming your way, but I just want to show you how I got to this one. Again, it wasn't a Christmas one, and see how there was little white little dots right there, and it had these little things right there. So I liked that, but I wanted to put an ornament in each one of those dots. And then, oh, I found this ornament right here, but all I did was I started searching ornaments over here. And then you can find them over here. And I'm searching for graphics. And as I was just scrolling down, I happened to find, let's see if it shows up. It may take a little bit of time, but I found this one that has the snow on it, and I liked that one. And then when I chose that one, it will suggest other ones that match. But I particularly liked this. Let's see if if I want just one certain ornament, you can also do something like this, where you can double tap on it and you can just get that ornament right there. And so you can do a lot with just one graphic. Click done, and now I just put that right there. So you can do a lot of different things with one graphic in particular. And I can change this up to different colors. And they did a cool gradation, so I was just kind of playing around with the gradation. I thought that was fun. Ooh, I could go that color. I stuck with the gray. So you can see how many different things can change in Canva for you. One other thing with text, you can also go to effects, and I used an outline right there. I could also do something like that, or add a shadow. You can see just by changing things around, you can have so much fun with how you want it to look. And I think the hardest thing in Canva is the decision making. Like, what am I going to stick with? And there's always people that are better at this than you. And so that's why you want to stick with their templates, because then you'll look halfway decent. So that is coming your way. And thank you, Andrea, for putting up with this. Andrea, I know, is a graphic designer already. And so she doesn't need a lot of this backward chaining like we do. But Canva has really saved me time. If I ever want to create a beautiful document for my students, students or my studio or for my website, this is where I head. I do a lot more in Canva than I do in Pages or Word or any other place right now. Okay, so that is one example of backward chaining. And let's go now to, I want to go back over here a minute, and I have, sorry, I got too many things in front. I'm going to take a look at a chord chart, which I also made in Canva as well. And can't access it. Here we go. My chord chart. Oh, by the way, I had fun with the kitty cats. When I added one to Canva, all of a sudden they were showing me all these other ones like, oh, those are kind of fun. I think a lot of teachers and people like cats, or maybe you're a dog person, so I apologize. This is a chord chart that is also coming your way. And I also made it in Canva. And I want to just explain some of the steps that I have here for you. First of all, I have 3 different chord charts, and I'm not expecting that all of my students and perhaps all of you would play through all of these chord charts because it really depends on how much you know about chords. But I am going to walk you through the first 2. First of all, the very first one, if you notice just up at the left-hand top, there I have Oompa style, and then left hand and then right hand. So I'm using this with pretty much all of my students, even beginners. So even if my beginners cannot play a chord, they can still mostly read. Most of them can read because they're age 6, 7. And so I have them read or sing along, and then they're playing just a single bass note in their left hand. So when it says C, they're going to play a C. I'm getting my keyboard on here in just a minute. And so they're singing along, jingle bells, jingle all the way. I won't sing for you right now, but as you notice, the trick with this is making sure that the F gets played on all. So that is a skill in itself when you're reading a chord chart, is when do I play that chord? And chord charts, I tell you what, they're a great place for you to learn chords, but they do not give you very much information. And so that is really good information to know exactly where you have to play each one of those chords. Now, if I've got students that can play triads, I will have them play a chord or a triad in the right hand and a single bass note is what I call it, or the root of the triad in the left hand. And so it might sound like this: jingle bells, jingle all the way. And it will be that simple, and I'll call it good. And then if, man, they're starting to feel pretty confident with that, I'll say, you know what, let's try a little Oompa style. And this is just Miss Leela's word, is left and then right. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. And we'll call it good. And I would say that's a pretty sophisticated way to harmonize a group of people. And you're sounding pretty good, and all you need to know are those 3 chords. Now, if students are ready, I'll say, did you notice that your right hand had to jump around a lot? How could you make that more convenient? And then I'll talk about how could you slide between the F or the C and the F chord. I won't even use the word inversion right away, but they'll notice, hey, F has a C in it as well. Oh, I'll just move my top 2 fingers up to F. So yes, I'm using inversions, and then they discover that with G. So you can't see my hands, but I want you to practice listening just a little bit. I can always change my camera, and I will in just a minute. But let me show you one other way to make this just a little bit more sophisticated. And notice how I'm just doing bit by bit, just a little bit more. If students are familiar with, and maybe they're not, this is a great time to talk about tonic and dominant, or the root of a chord and the fifth of the chord. Because if you play a root of a chord in your left hand and then the fifth of it, you can get a really cool sound, and you can go. Okay, so that's a little bit more to manage, and of course I would not give that to all of my students, but right there it sounds pretty darn good, and I would say, hey, you could go play Jingle Bells for a crowd while they're singing. And now, if you know that you have some students that are ready to take it a little bit further, then they can go on to this next contemporary style. So I want to show you this one. I think this one is pretty slick. This one is all about the C2 and the F2 and the G sus chords. And it sounds really sophisticated, and it's really not all that hard. It's just a matter of getting used to seeing that and then playing something. So when you see a C2, what that means is there's a C triad. A C2 means that you're going to add the 2 above the C. So I'm playing a D instead of an E. Now sometimes you can play an E as well, but I'm taking that E off and I'm just playing C, D, and G. Okay, and then let me change my camera, although I think that's going to be hard. So I just want you to keep listening because you can see on the little chart that I have here, this is how you could crack the code for this contemporary style chord chart. Is C, there it is in the right hand, left hand's playing just that golden little bell, just that single bass note, and it could be down here if you want. The C2, add just that D above C. Now this is where it gets really clever. An F2, if you play F, A, and C, that's in root position, and F2 would be F, G, and C. Ooh, see how it has that C on the bottom? So I'm just going to keep my hand in that position with C on the bottom and then just play an F in my left hand, and I've got an F2 chord. But I didn't have to move around. I'm just sliding between those chords. And then the other one, a G sus. A G sus is when you add, here's your G chord, and instead of playing a 2, you play a 4. A G sus is short for a G sus 4. A lot of times you just won't see that 4 right there. So I'm adding a 4th above G, which happens to be C. Oh, so now I can go back to C, D, and G and play that in my left hand. All right, now if this is all going too fast for you, take some time, but this is a really clever way to play Jingle Bells, and it sounds quite sophisticated. So if I'm playing Jingle Bells, now F2 over A means the left hand, this is called a slash chord, the left hand's going to play A. Now G sus, keep going, but it's a really neat way. The right hand just stays right in that little pocket, and your left hand does quite a bit of moving around, but it creates that very contemporary sound. And I call it I use the words pulsing right hand. That makes a very contemporary sound when you just pulse that right hand. All right, now the next one, definitely a little bit of a pay grade up on this next one, and it's a chill 6/8 style. Let me just give you one tip. Okay, number one, first of all, I think you're going to want to check out my full scoop on chords if you want to learn more about chords. I also have a course on how to play piano in a band, and it really talks about reading from chord charts. But here's my little tip if you want to get under the hood of this chill style, is keep your right hand pinky on E. Okay, so if I keep my right hand pinky on E, then I'm playing that C chord in what would be first or second inversion. So you can see how I'm keeping my right hand kind of in that same little place, having some fun in my left hand. But keeping that right hand pinky on E is going to help you find most of those chords. So basically you're hanging chords from your pinky. All right, so that's my little tip for that. But I love chord charts. I used to not like them. I was intimidated by them, but I do feel like it is a fast way to get people to accompany singers, you know, because they don't have to worry about reading, but they do need to know their chords and their chord symbols. All right, so that's one thing that I wanted to make sure that I showed. And now let's go over to another thing I promised. And let me just pause here just for a second. I want to know who teaches adult students? Does anybody teach adult students? Yes. Okay. Say yes in the chat just so I know. Yes, I teach adult. Yes. Okay, good. Yes. Okay. Because let's just talk about adult students. I adore them. Now, some of them, and I'm talking about adult beginner students. That's where I'm at. There's a lot of adult students that are not beginners, but I noticed that some of my adult students who are retired, they struggle with a couple of things. First of all, they struggle with the fact that they have very sophisticated taste and they want to play really high-end music. But they also have a hard time because their skills are not there. And I know that I think he's close to 78. I know that his skills are never going to get to the place where he can play some of the things that he wants to play. And it's just reality. It gets harder for them to learn as I get older. And so I was looking for some sites that had, some I don't like to use the word easy. I use the word accessible, some accessible music for, especially for adult students that would like to play some of these gorgeous classical tunes that I just know that they would never be able to manage. And I was finding some, but then the font would be really small, or it just would be a little bit too complicated yet. And so I thought, I'm just going to do this myself. So this is where I feel like you could use Noteflight, and how Noteflight could come in very handy for you if you want to customize something for your students, not just adult students, but for anyone. But I'm just showing this one as an example. Now, the other thing that I notice about my adult students is that, and not all of them, but some of them don't know how to practice and don't know how to chop things up into small segments. And so they're very tempted to just bite it all off at one time. And so I purposely made this one for my student in levels or stages so that he could only do one thing at a time. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this. This is Chopin's Nocturne, Opus number 9 and number 2, and this is originally written in E flat, so you may recognize this tune. Oopsie. Okay, so you get the idea. Most likely you've heard that tune before, and he adores this piece. So you'll notice some things that I added in here. Again, I'm doing some of that backward chaining. I'm trying to get him to learn this as quickly as possible. So in Noteflight, there is a place for you. When you go under this big menu right here, under Note, you can add note names. So you see how I added note names to all those pitches. Which can be helpful, especially because this melody is not just sticking around in the middle C position. It is all over the place with huge intervals. So there's a lot of things for someone to learn. And then another thing over on, under formatting, I noticed that a lot of things that I found online were a little small for him to read. And so this is where I can change the size of things. I can make note size, everything bigger and smaller. I can make the staff further apart, all that kind of stuff. So you can play around with the formatting to make it much easier. So let me just show you my next levels, just to show you how you can customize things. Now, first of all, the other wonderful thing about notation systems like this is you can highlight everything, and then you can go over to edit, and then you can copy, and then I won't actually do this, but then you can go over here and you could start a whole nother page, and then I click paste. And so I took whatever I had on that level 1 and I brought it over here to level 2. And now level 2 is where I added that single bass note. Notice I was just talking about single bass note in chord charts as well. So if I play a little bit of this, you'll hear how I added just a little bit of harmony. And I wanted to keep that sophisticated harmony that Chopin adds. I can't add everything, but it was important for me to replicate that as much as possible. And so that is level 2. So level 3, this is where I have struggled a little bit, but what I want my students to be able to do is when they are reading broken chords like that, I want them to see them as all three at the same time. Because my theory is if you can see this but play all three at the same time, then you're reading things as a group and not as just, ooh, that's a C, that's an E, that's a G, that's a third up, that's a third up. No, they're grabbing that whole chord. So this is what I asked him to do next, is just to play through the triads both ways. Notice I added chord symbols and just got him used to playing those chords. The chord symbols get a little complicated, and so I went back and forth whether I would add them or not, but I decided I would. One thing here also is to add chord symbols. Let me just take this off once. You can just click on here, and I use the letter K is the shortcut in Noteflight, and then you can add chord symbols right above there. So that's a really neat thing to add to your music, and especially adult players, a lot of their method books will use a lot of chord symbols. They may not understand the G sharp diminished 7. I will maybe review it with them, but that's probably not the goal of this. It's more of, can they grab those notes when they need to? So then, okay, after they go through all of those chords, then they can start adding. I think there we go. I messed things up just a little bit because I was playing around with my sizing and stuff. So I'm not going to save any of this, the changes that I made. Level 4 now has the chords in blocked. So, and the chord symbols. And then level 5 would actually be where they have the broken chords. So that's how I stepped my adult student through learning that piece. And it actually has some beautiful harmonies in it. You can see I didn't, just simplify everything, make it too vanilla. It has some beautiful borrowed chords in it. So that is something I want you to think about as Noteflight being something that you can actually help and encourage your students. And I have done this with somewhere in my memory, a student who has a problem reading really wanted to play that tune by John Williams. It's a crazy melody as well. And so I tailored it to help him learn it. The other thing that I love is the fact that in Noteflight, I can export this. So notice I can export it as a PDF. That's great. I can also export it as an MP3. So I share this MP3 with my adult students so they can play along with this at home as well. So it's really a 2-for-1. You're notating something, but also you also have an instant MP3, and also it comes in a WAV or MIDI, whatever you prefer. So those are some really powerful tools that are within Noteflight. So I choose Noteflight as my platform to notate because it is web-based, and I use it a lot in my composiums. Many of you have joined me in my composiums, and students use this in schools. And so it has been my platform of choice. I know there are many others that are good as well, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things in there. Let me see. I want to make sure I am following what I need to. Yes, okay, let's move on then. A brand new thing that I've been working on is something called jump starts. So what is a jump start? Well, I looked up jumper cables. And jumper cables are what we use when we connect a dead car battery to one that's charged. And so these jump starts that I'm sharing with you right now connect you to a creative energy source and are guaranteed to charge up your musical imagination. Now, you are viewing this in Canva because this is where I made it all. And so I'm just going to kind of step you through what this jumpstart for January 2024 looks like. In my mind, I feel like there are 2 ways to be creative. Now, this is, I am really just putting this, and I would say two ways to get creative and to improvise. Maybe I should put it that way. There's a boundary-based way, and then I'm going to call them soundscapes, okay? So boundary-based means strict specifications that follow, that creators have to follow, and they're encouraged to stick with them, but then they're also encouraged to step out of bounds eventually as well. And that would be like a lead sheet or a chord chart. And then there's something that I call soundscapes. And these provide ideas and just a bit of structure and encourage freedom to explore explore possibilities. And what I've decided to do with these jump starts is I will provide video tutorials for how you could approach it for a level 1, a pre-reader, a level 2, readers with some experience, and then a level 3, those who are strong sight readers, perhaps maybe those just like you who just need a nudge to grab onto some patterns. And so that is what I plan to do in these jump starts. And this Winter Wonder is my January jumpstart. And this is already available, but it is a soundscape. So there's ideas that are going to charge up imaginations. And what I want you to do is take the ideas and have fun with it. And I've just started this with a student of mine, and it was a success. He was having fun, and he was a beginner. So like I said, it's really for anybody at any age. So I will always, in a jump start, give you your objective. Improvise a piece that reflects the wonders of winter. And then the type. This happens to be a soundscape. It's specific ideas provided for free exploration. Then I want it to be a teaching moment as well. So it's a simultaneous activity where you're exploring and learning. So the concepts covered are tonic, dominant, A minor, fourths, parallel fourths, motive, sequence, pedal point, time signatures. Oh my goodness. Sounds like a lot, but some of it will be things that you already know. And then if there's any required materials, I'll always add those in. And again, I'll let you know what's age appropriate. I will always want to make things appropriate for any age. You saw how I broke down that chord chart. That's how I'm imagining you would do with these jump starts as well. At any age, there's something that you can do with them. So I'll jump ahead just a little bit. I've got plenty of steps for you. The one thing that I wanted to point out in Canva is that you can add QR codes in Canva. They will generate them for you. And so yes, I made videos of these different levels, and even Miss Leela's Winter White, I created my own piece. And so if you click on any one of these links, it will take you to a video. You can also scan the QR code and it will take you to the video. So anyway, you can access it. So if I click on this link, I think you can all see there I am explaining the Winter Wonder Level 2. And so I give you as a teacher ideas or as an improviser ideas. I try and word it so that you could use it yourself, or you could share it with your students, or you could learn from it and then teach it yourself. So it's kind of a mix of however you want to use it. And then what you'll see is here's my little catalog of ideas. And the thing that I started just, listening to other music. And one of the things that really creates a neat sound are just fourths. And then you add some pedal, and it really creates a neat sound. And so, for beginners, dividing it between the hands, maybe in one hand, a stack of fourths, which is called quartils. I love that word. Has that really, it just gives you kind of a cold, chilly feeling. And then you could stack fourths between the hands, which also has a really cool sound to it. And then I just give some ideas for shrinking intervals and expanding them. You could use motive and sequence if I have this little motive. And building it up or down, adding fourths at the end of a pattern. Sounds really neat. Or adding a fourth at the beginning of a pattern. So I try to really pinpoint, just keep it narrow and yet keep the options open. And then again, for my beginners, they're just going to hang out on A, put the pedal down, and then I ask a lot of what if I questions. I want them to ask themselves, what if I? And then for for a little bit more advanced players, they could maybe do this left-hand pattern. All of the rhythm patterns are suggesting this is a free place. This is a noodle place. This is a soundscape. This is not supposed to be where we're following the rules and keeping everything in 4/4 time or 5/4 time or, 6/8 time. But I do give some ideas if you want to change up the rhythm, and that would definitely be for more advanced players. Then I'd love for students to create their own Winter Wonder, give it a title, and then just in case they want to create a cover, but they don't want to draw their own, I have some students that love to draw their own things and some just like to color. I added a few little color things, and then I did add some staff paper. This one, I would not encourage people to write things down, but sometimes it's nice to add a little chicken scratch. And then some students love to write things down. This is one of those where I would love for them to create a piece and be able to just play it. And maybe it's not the same every time, but that's what I mean by a soundscape. So that is what Jump Starts are, and they are brand new, and they are now available at my website, and they come out monthly. And I decided to do a monthly program like this because when you sign up for these jump starts, you have access to each one of them. You can find them. You don't have to save them somewhere precious in your folder somewhere to find them. You always can find them. And then the videos will be there for you. I just feel like it's a little bit handier than you just downloading something and then not being able to find it again. So I can show that to you as well. So yes, all of this is to, sharing all of these things is to tell you about a new place that I've now am eager to launch, and it's called A Space to Create. And I'm excited about this because it all started with some symposiums that I held. And what I noticed is that I had people signing up for these symposiums where they learned how to create or arrange, and then they were signing up for more. And then what I noticed is some of them weren't finished with their projects, or some of them had more questions, and we just didn't get to them. So I thought, what if I offer offer a place for people to create? And so that's what's included in this Space to Create. First of all, you can attend 2 or more symposiums, which in itself is a pretty exciting thing because then you can really get your composing and creative skills up and running. And then I also will include all the jump starts. They are part of that Space to Create. I will also offer private coaching sessions within this Space to Create, so that if you've got personal projects that you just need help on, I am here. And there's 4 of them for the year. I'm assuming that people would register for this for the year. You get 12 months of the full scoop on chords. If you really need to work on your chord fluency, this is the place where you want to be. And then probably one of my favorite things is I'm adding 4 creative abrasions. It's where anybody who's in this group, we can meet together. And I love that term, creative abrasions. That's, the smartest person in the room is the room. When we get to rub shoulders with other people and see what other people are doing, it gives us ideas. And so, yes, this is the thing that I'm excited about, that I'm launching. And I'm excited that some of you who are already here have already registered. I'm just so thrilled. The space is limited. So that's what I want to emphasize. This is not one of these big, huge memberships where I want more and more people. No. I'm keeping it down to 10 people so that I can really pay attention to those 10 people and see them through. So if you want to know where the value is, I've got this all on my website if you want to study this some more. What I'm offering, what the value is, and what your cost is, and the breakdown. I understand that it's not always easy to pay in a one lump sum, so there are payments or installments of 5 installments, and then I've got a lot of your questions answered, I hope, right here. So go ahead and click on those pluses when you're looking around, and they will answer quite a few of your questions right there. And then again, you can ask me any questions. And here is my schedule that I'm thinking of. I'm going to have some composiums and arrangiums during the year. The jump starts are available to you for every month. I'll have coaching available most months. The full scoop is available to most months, and I'll have meetups most likely in those months. So it kind of gives you a rough idea of what's involved in this Space to Create. So yes, if the lump sum just feels like too much, that's what it would be for 5 months. And yes, I am expecting that there would be a commitment for 1 year. I went back and forth on how to do this, but I thought, if you want to see a project grow and develop. We want our students to stick with us, right? We don't want to we don't want them to come and go. So I felt like a year commitment would be probably the most doable. And that doesn't mean that we're always meeting all the time, but that way you've got someone to check in with you on your projects. And here's just a few testimonials. I've had over 100 teachers and pianists join my Composiums and Rangiums, and they seem to come back for more. So I just am excited about unveiling this to you. Thank you for spending time with me, and I am very happy to answer any questions. So let me stop sharing here a minute, and I'll check in. And do I have any questions? Where can I go back to? I have some people here with me. Yeah, it's great to have you here. Any questions that I can answer about anything, not just the Space to Create or the jump starts? And let's see, after the same as, oh yes. Do you have some questions on the F2? I can go back. Let's call them sus2, right? I know, and you can see sus2 and sus4. You've seen them all. So many chord charts will approach chord symbols differently. And so I feel like, I have one way, but that's not the only way. So yes, you will see that C sus2 or a C sus4, but a lot of times people will just really shorten things up and do a C2. You'll see a G4, a G sus, a lot of things. Okay. Any other questions I can answer? I'd be very happy to talk with anyone if you are willing to stick around. And if not, I can say goodbye. Like I said, I'm very excited for people to join the Space to Create. And let me just run by a few things. If you feel like, okay, if you want someone to walk alongside you for that year, Space to Create is the place for you. And if you feel like, man, that sounds like a commitment, but I do want to learn how to compose or arrange, then I suggest signing up for a Composium. I have one coming up in February. It's just about full. Maybe this is the year to really develop your chord fluency. Then I suggest the Full Scoop on Chords. And perhaps you just really need to stretch and condition your improv muscles. That's where I would tune into those jump starts. And remember, all of those are available in the Space to Create. So, if you're willing to put forth that effort for the year, that might be the way to go. And I would look forward to elevating your creativity to a whole new galaxy. So thank you so much. I am very happy to stick around if any of you have questions. Otherwise, I will let you go and I will send off the replay. Let's see, am I missing? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you find a question that you'd like me to answer that I have not.
Yeah, Leela, how is the 3-2-1 boundaries? How is that different than the jump starts?
Good question. The 3-2-1 boundaries are based on chord progressions only.
Okay.
And the jump starts are meant to be much more exploration, like that one. The Winter Wonder was very exploratory, not so much chord based. It's not meant to be notated. It's not based on a chord progression, although it loosely is. I give some suggestions. And then like the next one in February, I know will be based on a lead sheet. So, it will be very, very specific. Whereas the 321 challenge is much more based on just chord progressions.
Okay.
Yes,
Thanks.
good answer. Yes. Any other questions? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any other questions. I'll read through these. No. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining, Marilyn. Nice to see you. And look for the replay and your freebies in your email inbox very soon. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.